Hello all, in this drawing tutorial we're going to be discussing how to build a drawing. So first we'll need some materials. We're going to want to have usually an HB drawing pencil, eraser, a sharpener, and definitely some paper. And that's all you're going to need for this, okay? Alright, so first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to work with shapes. Let's make sure that we can create some simple, accurate shapes. So shapes, of course, come in all types of sizes and distinguishing angles, but let's go with the simple ones. We're going to start with the square, 4 equal sides. Bigger brother is the rectangle, 2 longer sides, 2 shorter sides. We have the circle, triangle, and a few other shapes we can think about here. Would be like something like a trapezoid is a good one. Some other geometric shapes, diamond shape. And try a few other ones that you know, or just some different types of ones, but definitely do some ellipses, or we can call those ovals as well. Try drawing some more vertical and some more horizontal, like the ones I have here. You can also think of it like egg-like shapes. The second exercise, let's work on drawing some forms. That is a 3D version of a shape. We're going to create the illusion of 3D objects here. That's what a form is. It's a 3D object. So let's take that square again. Guess what we're going to turn that into if we go 3D with it? We're going to also create a rectangle, a circle, just like we did in the last exercise. Triangle. I think right here we're going to go with the square. I'm going to make 3 parallel lines that extend out from one side, and then 2 parallel lines back to the square there to create a cube. And here I'm going to do the same thing with this rectangle. I'm going to create a tall box. And again, take a look how I'm going over the lines there and then matching up the angle on the back parts. That gives me accuracy. The triangle is interesting. I can turn it into a prism or a pyramid by extending the line out, creating a 3D angle there. But I can also turn it into a cone by giving it a curved bottom. Let me flip that upside down. I'm going to draw an ellipse, or like that oval like we practiced. And now draw a triangle. You can see it looks like an ice cream cone. Circle's interesting. How do you make a circle 3D? Well, it already is 3D. But if we add some shading to it, we're going to turn it into something a little bit different than a circle. What can we call that? Does anyone know? Think about the Earth. This is a sphere. A ball is a sphere. So if I shade it, and we'll work onto shading coming up soon. This exercise is not about shading, but to create the form of a sphere, you got to shade it. And I'm going to shade this cube too, just for ha-has, to give it some extra 3-dimensional oomph. A little cast shadow. It looks like it's sitting down 3-dimensionally. There we go. Another form we can create is we can take that trapezoid, again 3 parallel angles extending out, and then an angle that matches up there. Boom, we get a 3D. It almost looks like a ramp, like in a skate park. Ellipses. These we have to practice a lot. These do not come easy. These take practice, practice, practice. Ellipses are all types of ovals. It's actually, an ellipse is a circle, but when you see it a circle from an angle, like when you see a frisbee from an angle, you see an ellipse. So let's talk about what it is not an ellipse. This almost looks like an eye, but you see how they're pinching? That is not an ellipse. Ellipses do not pinch in the ends. They always curve. This is a free-form shape. This might feel like an ellipse, but it's kind of wobbly. Nope. An ellipse has roundness all throughout, and on the left side and right side where those extreme bends are, they keep curving. And if I cut an ellipse in half, the one side should look like the other. So here's a good handy dandy exercise. If you have a ruler, use it. If not, use the side of a book like me. I'm going to draw one line there and one line there to kind of create a road. And I'm going to create ellipses that extend from one edge of a line to the other. I'll try a narrow one here. Sorry for the lighting there, it might be hard to see, but you'll see it in a second. And then I'm going to create a larger ellipse, a taller ellipse. So I'm going to make it a little bit fuller and rounder. Another one, a little bit rounder. Again, they're the same width, they're just getting rounder as I go up. If you look at it, it looks like a coin kind of like flying through the air, flipping. It looks like a little like animation of it when you look at them together. Practice that, practice, practice, practice to get better. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about are cylinders. One of the biggest types of 3D forms you'll see in a lot of objects. Cylinders are made up of two types of shapes. We're going to work on those right now, building those up. So a great exercise for this is we're going to start drawing some rectangles on the top half here. So draw about 4 or 5 rectangles varying from very tall to very short and stout, like these right here. It almost looks like a little bar chart there. Now underneath that, what we're going to do is we're going to turn these into cylinders, like objects you would see from another point of view. Like if you think about a Pringles container or a tire, things like that, those are cylinders, or a tuna can as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the same type of rectangular, like vertical lines as the shape above, but we're going to put an ellipse to the top. And then you see that curve of the bottom edge of the ellipse? We're going to match that on the bottom edge of that to create that ellipse shape. So same thing, we're going to repeat that. We're going to make the two same vertical lines. We'll make a more rounder ellipse there, and I'm going to match that curve of the bottom of the ellipse. I call that the smile. So it's more of a overhead point of view to that shape. Again, we're going to create a stouter one. Again, this is going to help you practice drawing ellipses, but you always want to match up the angle of the lower curve of the ellipse with the lower, with the bottom of that shape. And now here's our tuna can. Okay, we're going to match that up. This is a wonderful exercise to do. It helps you really key in on how that works. Now, we're going to also talk about some of the major issues people have if they don't practice this type of stuff. There's an ellipse, right? Match it with a rectangular shape. There you go. But what a lot of kids accidentally do is they'll do the top half, okay, but they'll flatten the bottom. Now, which one looks more three-dimensional to you? Okay, that's the one that we want to get that bad habit out of there. We want to match those two curves so they feel parallel. Okay, let's practice drawing some still life now. You guys are going to have a bunch of objects to work from home. You want to pick some simple ones. The first one I'm going to pick is I'm going to take something from my kitchen, like a piece of fruit. You're going to have an apple you see here. What shape should we start with to draw? We're going to take a simple shape. I don't think a square would be good here. Let's go for that circle. Inside that circle now, if I'm looking at an apple, you're going to see that you can shape and customize the apple shape by utilizing the circle and then altering it inside. Finding the center there, the little stem pops out. And then that curved little smiley shape to make it look like the stem's coming out of the apple there. A couple things that are going to help this feel a little more like an apple. I'm going to put some accent lines to show the roundness of it, especially on pumpkins. That's a really good idea. I'm going to do a little bit of some soft shading, just again, because it's like a sphere. A little bit of shading is going to give it a little bit more dimension. There we go. And there's my apple. Simple, simple. Based on a circle, we're just altering it a little bit. Circle turning into a sphere. There we go. Oranges would work, peaches would work. Grab some fruit. Repeat those shapes. All right. Now we're gonna go a little bananas with some geometric shapes that build on top of each other. So we're gonna take this carton of milk. Let's think about what could this carton of milk be broken down into. I'm gonna first start with a cube, or a tall kind of cube, like a box. Taking a look at those angles, looking at parallels. So I'm going to start with a box. Okay, kind of like this. Now I'm going to put this triangular shape in here. Yep, that's right, triangle there. You'll notice there's a triangle shape on the top of that box where it bends up, kind of like the roof of a house. Then I'm going to shoot that across parallel to the cube, and then another parallel line to the triangle there. And again, now it shows the top. And then we have a simple little rectangle on top, and there is our milk carton. Just going to use my eraser here to erase those lines that basically were ghost lines. And again, a little identifier there for milk. I'm going to do a little bit of soft shading like I see on the picture of the milk in front of me there. Again, go into your fridge, find a carton or something, or find a book, something to draw, something, or a couple boxes that you can stack on top of each other to help you with drawing some cubes-like shapes. Okay, now we're going to layer multiple forms. This is our third exercise here. This is something that's a little more challenging than the last two because it has more components. I'm going to take a teapot, and I'm going to base it basically on a cylinder shape. There's my teapot. We're going to start with the main body of the teapot. Again, I'm going to start with the ellipse. Bring that down. And I'm going to match the curve of that upper ellipse. See there? Down there. And I get the basic big part of the body. Now I'm going to create a smaller ellipse. I'm going to figure out how long that needs to be. And again, I'm going to match that curve with there. I'm going to bring up a quick little line on each side and do that. So this is a very short, almost like a tuna can, a short cylinder. Again, I'm going to work my ellipse up there, get it rounded. And again, these are sketches. You're working this out. Now the handle, I'm going to measure based on the cylinder I made. See, that if I put the handle there, man, that would be small. It has to be really low where it ends up because it's a big handle. It's almost like a rectangle-like shape. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle there for you to see. Because then later I can add my curves to really refine the details in it. Then my spout. My spout reminds me of something cone-like or triangular like that. I think that looks pretty good, so I'm going to bring where I think it needs to go. I'm going to bring an angle there, and attach it to my main cylinder, put a little ellipse there. There's the major components of my teapot. Now what I'll do is, based over my sketch, I'm going to add some curved edges to round out the shape so it doesn't feel so flat. There we go. Always constantly adjusting. So those first lines I did need to get adjusted. Nothing's perfect. You can always get better. Details. We always have to think, what are the steps in creating? We have to look at the shapes. What kind of shapes are there? There's simple shapes. Then number 2, we can start adding details, making more detailed shapes. Number 3 is refining. What does that mean, refining? It means going back and adjusting. The thing that lazy people don't like to do. So do not be a lazy person. Okay, your drawings will show that. I'm going to put a little light shading here. And again, that adds dimension. We're going to have a whole other chapter in learning how to really shade effectively. But putting a little shading here is, hey, that's part of the fun of drawing. So I love to shade. There we go, everybody. Keep working on this stuff in your sleep if you have to. Good luck, everyone.